I had when I talked about the serious ramifications of what the religiosity was, is that all therapy was viewed as demonic when I was a kid. It was viewed as quackery. In the culture I grew up in, it was like if you ever saw a doctor for your mind, you were already crazy. So when you're talking about the help you needed was actually demonized. That was a really, really
Yeah.
hard thing to overcome because you feel like you're disappointing God himself if you go to a doctor and talk about your problem. So it was I mean, you're talking about a big, big whammy for me. But as an adult, I was able to just try it. And you have to understand, when I first went to therapy, I thought this is not me. This is crazy. There's no way this is me. And then the guy says, he says, is your dad an alcoholic? I was like, yeah, yeah. And he said, is your mother religion? I was like, yeah. How did you know? I mean, all this when they started reading my mail, and I was going, wait a minute, that is me. That is me. And I do have this problem. They were like, Terry, you have a double life. I was like, what? Wait a minute, what? And they just started to call these things as they were, which forced introspection. It was literally like, I had a movie in my head that was, Dirty Harry. You know what I mean? And I was the hero. But then you look back and you say, wait a minute, Dirty Harry was killing a lot of innocent people. And you look back and you go, wait a minute, this movie is telling the wrong message. And I said, holy cow, I had this whole thing backwards. And the only way I can really relate it to is that it was like thinking that the sun revolved around the earth and then finding out that nope, we go around the sun. It all looked the same, but holy cow, did that not, when I say it was shed, it was it's revolutionary. I was going, I had it all wrong. And then that began my quest. And I just kept digging and kept digging. And through tons of tears, tons of introspection, tons of examining, and tons of forgiveness. That's another thing that enabled me to move on. Because one reason I was angry is because I never forgave. I mean, if you were on my list, you were always my enemy. You know what I mean? Um, this stuff comes from all that, those 18 years I spent in my parents' house. There were good times that kept us together, but then there were horrors that definitely affected me forever.
Man, I mean, like, I I'm so, like, happy for you and for Rebecca and for your family that you're at a place now where maybe there's more peace and now the ability to move forward with so much more self-awareness, ownership of one's true narrative instead of projected false narratives. And my question on that is like, so now from your own experience that therapy was hugely productive and hugely helpful in terms of your ability to move forward from the trauma. How helpful do you feel it would have been? I mean, obviously we can't change the past, but we're looking at
Yeah.
the past to understand how we can better the future. Like how much would it have helped if you and your mom had access to therapy when you were 5, when 5 through 18? Like, do you feel like it's important that knowing what we know about the past, that we make sure that kids have access to healing and justice while they're kids? What opportunity could that give to them that maybe you didn't have when you were a kid?
I'll tell you this, man. I would have avoided most of my issues had I received help, or my mom had received help. Um, but in that period in time, it was viewed as an image of weakness. I just got to tell you, man. There were probably about I would say probably 7 to 10 times I remember distinctly us packing our bags. And my mother was like, I'm out. I can't take it anymore. This is it. And I was so happy. I was like, okay, we're out. We're out of here. And I remember having one little play suitcase and I would pack it all up and put all my stuff. And then the rest of my clothes I would put in garbage bags. That's what we did. And I put everything up and I was ready to go. And then the morning would come and she would say, we're not going anywhere. And I was like, no, we're back here. You know,
Dude.
she couldn't believe. And and I think it was a lot of the verbal abuse that she felt she could never ever make it on her own. It was pretty brutal, man. I have to say it was brutal. And then on top of
Yeah.
that, with alcoholism, it was just a toxic mix. And if we had had any kind of therapy or help, man, I can tell you, I would have embraced them. I would have, because I knew this wasn't right. I knew something was very, very wrong with our family, and I knew we needed help.
I mean, 100%, man. And it, I live by this mantra a lot, this idea that we can't change the past. We can't directly control what happens around us, but we can choose how we show up in the
That's
present
right.
moment of our lives. And as we're talking about this, as we're thinking about future generations, our kids today and the kids of tomorrow, um, like, why is it important then that our society do everything that they can, not only to listen to these kids, but to support child advocacy centers? And why is it so important that we be engaged in this fight right now? Why is it so important?
All I can say is that there are psychological issues that are being developed right now that we have yet to deal with, that are going to come to fruition if we do not intervene now. It's literally changing the fabric of society, slowly. And change, all change is incremental until it's too late. That's the thing. It's literally very, you don't even see it coming. And then all of a sudden, it's like, what just happened? We have to intervene now.
100%, man. I mean, for my own process, I think about my childhood self, and I think about, you know, the thing is that children who are abused, who experience abuse, they they lose their ability to see their value. They lose their ability to have self love. They start to believe that something's wrong with them, that they're dirty, disgusting, unlovable. And the thing is that, I mean, you and I both know, sitting here today as adults, having worked through our trauma, that, childhood Terry or childhood Sasha, it wasn't that we weren't beautiful anymore. It wasn't that we weren't worthy of love. It's that our perception of that beauty, our perception of that worthiness, that's what went away as a result of the abuse. And I think by giving children the opportunity to address that trauma, to break that belief system down and rebuild a healthy one, despite the trauma they've endured, if we're doing that work, if we're supporting child advocacy centers, we're giving these children an opportunity to not be defined by the trauma that they endured, and we're giving ourselves a better opportunity for a healthier future.
Hey, Sasha, and I got a word for just anybody out there. One thing that I do, I keep a picture of myself at 6 years old on my phone, and I talk to him. I literally talk to him because he's still me. He's still me, and he's cute, and he's innocent, and he's special, and he's precious. And I go, man, you know what? You're great, and you are a dynamic kid. And I tell that to my young self, the stuff I never heard, you know, and it did a lot to heal me, and to anybody out there, just, who went through things like this, if you're an adult, you're still that little kid. That little kid is still you. And it was a technique that just really was groundbreaking for me. because I always protect that little one. Always, always. And I think just like we would protect the little ones that are in us, we need to protect the little ones that are all out there right now. Um, and we have the chance to do that.
100%, man. Um, yeah, 100%. And we're doing it by coming together today, by having the conversation, by pushing through the taboo label of child abuse and bringing it to the forefront. We're doing it,
That's right.
man. And,
Good.
it's about making the choice every day to be engaged. And I just really appreciate you joining us to be a part of this, and for all the work that you're doing, not just right here in this conversation, but all the conversations you're having. But I do have one more question, and it's pretty important. Um,
Mhm.
do you do you like yogurt as much in real life as Terry in 9-9 likes yogurt? Like, is that a real thing, or like, what's the deal?
No, it is a real I love yogurt. And you know what's wild?
It's awesome.
I was eating that yogurt on set in the first year. People were like, "This is really a weird little." They see my big hands on this little dainty yogurt cup, and they were like, "Terry loves yogurt." And they That's the one thing I love. They actually put it into the fabric of the show, and it's very, very true.
What's your favorite flavor?
Strawberry, full fat strawberry, all the way.
Right on. Like chunky strawberry, like pieces of strawberry in there.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing, man. And I like the fruit on the bottom. You know what I mean? Where you have to stir it up a little bit. It's
Yeah.
so good, and it's so good. The great probiotics too, man. Good for the gut health.
Fruit on the bottom. It asks for you to engage, man. It asks for you to engage. But
That's all.
seriously, Terry, like, I'm glad we got to end on that note. Oh man, Terry, seriously, man, thank you so much for being here and for engaging in this conversation with me.
You got it, my man. Oh, it's so valuable, and thank you for having it. I'm honored to be a part of this conversation. Honored.
Power to you, man. Power to
Oh,
you. Thanks for using your voice to make a difference in this world. That's what it's all
oh,
about, man. Paying it forward.
thank you, Sasha. Thank you.